The following is brought to you by Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. TotalSeal.com. Hello and welcome to another edition of Hidden Horsepower Live. My name is Joe Castello. I am your host. And just seconds from now, we'll be going out to Shaver Specialties Racing Engines to connect with Ron Shaver and Lake Speed. It is going to be great. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat section. If you're watching out there on YouTube or any of our social channels, be sure to like and share. This is going to be a great one. You know, these Hidden Horsepower Live shows have become very popular, live interaction, but also the podcast, great interviews. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and of course, the TotalSeal.com website, which is a great resource for all kinds of great information. If you're looking for and interested in high-performance piston rings, which I think is why everybody is here. All right, let's go out and join our guests, co-host of the show, Lake Speed Jr., and of course, Ron Shaver. Gentlemen, hello, welcome. How are you?
Doing great, man.
Everything's good here.
I bet. So Lake told me this week has been just a crazy audible of fun and informative things that you guys have been going in gangbusters. What's it like having Lake back out there, Ron?
Hectic. He moves too fast for me. Yeah, but we kind of we're in between getting a Ford engine out and a podcast and fitting pieces, so I'm pretty busy.
Yeah. So you may not be able to sit here the whole time, by the way, just so you know, right? There's a lot going on this week. And like you said, we had to pull some audibles. You know, this whole week was supposed to be out here to do some engine testing on the little engine out there. We were going to actually test a gas-ported gapless ring to see what it would do, because you know, they've run the gas-ported ring in the sprint car engine recently, and it ran pretty good. And of course, we did the test last year with the gas-ported ring and the little motor, and it ran good. So we're like, hey, let's try gapless gas-ported.
Yeah.
Well, problem is, pistons didn't show up.
No pistons, no run.
No, yeah, exactly. Well, everybody that lives in the industry right now knows that part supply is hard. Yeah. So just things take longer to get. So this just didn't work out.
Parts are a big problem right now. You know, you order a block, it might take 18 weeks, and cranks take 10 weeks, and you know, you just got to sort of sit and wait or plan ahead, which, you know, engine guys like myself, we kind of order 3 weeks ahead of time, but that's not going to get it anymore. So we are stocking huge amounts. Like we just got 10 Ford blocks and 10 Ford heads and stuff that we won't use probably until December, but if we don't have them, we can't build engines. So it's a real problem. And
exactly.
Then, you know, the big races are coming up, Eldora, Knoxville. So we've got special engines for that, and we're getting them all out. And the last one's on the dyno right now. So
yeah, you may hear it in the background running back there. I can kind of hear the low rumble from the distance back here. So yeah, we still have these waited to test. At some point we'll reschedule. But the cool thing that kind of happened this week is that it just happened to be that we were here this week, and even though the pistons didn't show up, a certain guy you've known your whole life, Ed Iskandarian, happens to turn 100 years old tomorrow.
And he's a good 100. It's amazing, his mind. He was telling stories at the birthday party. I mean, I'll share one with you, but he was trying to tell us how he got started in business. And back in the day in 1946, all there were flatheads, and NASCAR was new, and they were just starting, and he built his own cam grinder, but it wouldn't grind the
acceleration ramp.
Ramp. So he just left that out, and he said you could hear the car coming, 10 miles away. He said it was a little embarrassing, but it actually worked well in the NASCAR engines. And his goal was to make $100 a day. And the NASCAR guys put him over that goal because almost all of the NASCAR guys were buying the flathead cams.
And I guess they didn't really have a lot of options back then, did they?
Yeah, no, they didn't. There wasn't any engines. There wasn't any cams. Cam grinders were just starting. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the originals, Engel, Iskandarian.
So who's this Winfield guy? What's the backstory on this Winfield guy? Because if anybody's ever heard Ed talk, he talks about Winfield.
Yeah.
That's the guy that got him into the cam business.
Winfield was a big IndyCar guy, and back in the day, in the 30s, he thought 5/16 of an inch was a huge lift, but he knew a lot about grinding cams, and he was really looking into the future. And Ed used him as a stepping stone to making cams.
Right.
And without Ed, probably Ed Winfield, Ed Escuderian wouldn't have been there.
Oh, they're both named Ed.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now I understand why he calls him Winfield. Otherwise, you wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Winfield's his last name.
Okay. All right.
But if you look in the books of all the old stuff, Ed Winfield's always mentioned. All the cam grinders, everybody, used him as a bench. He was the only bench.
He was the guy.
So, yeah.
I remember Ed Escuderian telling me the story that, it was a Norton centerless grinder that he set up with a rock, and that's how he would do the cams.
Yeah, he invented the cam grinder, and he just took a cylindrical grinder and took it apart and made it swing, and then that's what started cam lobes. They actually ground the cam lobes on the swing lobe, and then they would just put it on there and rotate the cam. And it was pretty amazing because you go in their shops. To this day, you'll go into the shops and you'll see all this rack of cam lobes. Mm-hmm. And they're all marked R38 or 505 ISKI or 138 Engel, and and they still use it. They still do it that way.
Yeah, they do. I remember being there one time, and it's like we still use it because the blanks or the masters for that lobe. For that grinder, so that's how it works. So
Richard and Ronnie are running the company now, and Ed's just in the background. But they bought 2 CNC cam grinders, and Ed had a fit because they were $1 million a piece, and that's a lot of money to him. And he said, "I don't like it because I don't know how to run it, and I'll never learn how to run it at 100 years old."
That's true.
I said, "I don't know. You're pretty sharp."
Hey, he's made it this far, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've known Ed, or Ed's known you your whole life, right?
Yeah. We grew up right there. I was born and raised in Ladera Heights, and so were his kids, Ron and Richard.
You went to school with them, right?
Yeah.
So they were just running buddies the whole way through.
I used to steal Ron's car and go down to the beach and surf because I didn't have one. Yeah. Oh.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So with his, I guess, the big celebration party for Mr. Iskey's tomorrow night. But by the way, he signed my hat for me. That's awesome. So I got it. Wow. Well, we did they had trivia questions, right? So Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
He comes to Taco Tuesday, and Danny had some trivia questions. They were giving away some merch who could answer the trivia questions, and I actually got one of them right by dumb luck. So
yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff he did. He's really, unless you know him, he doesn't have a lot to say. Once you get to know him, he'll talk your ear off. But so you don't really know what he's doing. You don't know what he's thinking, Yeah. But once you get to know him, you saw, get him on a story.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Joe, actually show the video of the birthday party real quick. Because everybody
Here it comes. Happy birthday, Iskey and Iskender.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ed. Happy birthday to you.
Well, filling a cylinder all the way would be 100% what I went to efficiency. And I didn't realize at the time that that's hard to do at high speed. Maybe at low speed. So that's the first thing we learned from Winfield.
See, holding court, right?
Yeah, he was holding court. Once we got him talking, he was telling us everything.
Well, he said the $100 day. That was his goal.
$100 a day. When he said that, remember how much he smiled?
Oh yeah.
He was good.
You could remember. So. Another thing too, like I said, the thing that Winfield told him, you need to have this, the lash ramp.
Yeah,
and he's like,
ramp.
I don't have a rotary table, so I'll just leave that off.
Yeah, he said you could hear the cars coming with the cams in them a mile away. He said it was a little embarrassing, but they still bought them.
Oh yeah. So anyway, the Ford motor back there, Joe. Why don't you show the little video of the Ford motor? Then talk a little bit about that project for a second if you want to.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's quite a project. We built 14 of those things, and that's been a constant battle to. They've got so much more power than a Chevrolet that it didn't fit into our program. So we had trouble getting the car hooked up, and then we worked with the engine trying to mellow it out a little bit. But it's really a great engine. It's going to be available to everybody next year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Ford's going to back
making it out.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. That's great.
So that's in the works, but it's developed just for racing. It's just a real good engine. It's got titanium caps, and it's got ductile iron sleeves, and it's got good heads. And we've made 3 versions of heads already, and we haven't seen the 3rd version, but the 2nd version was better than the 1st version.
Okay,
so
nice.
It's getting there.
Well, this has been a several-year project, right?
Yeah, this year was a development year, and next year we'll win races, I think. So we actually have 2 cars running in Tony's stable. One's Kerry Matson, and the other's Donnie Schatz. And everybody knows Donnie Schatz. And we brought Kerry on board so we could learn faster. And I'll be darned, he won a couple of 3 races right away. So
nice.
We were happy with that. And,
that's fantastic.
Other than that, it's just an ongoing thing. We keep changing stuff. We never send the same stuff back out. So we're kind of learning fast. We think we have a package for the big tracks. And now we're working in the mid-range tracks, the little tracks. They're the toughest to master because the engine comes on so hard. So you got to soften them up a little bit on the bottom and to get them to run. And that's easy to do with compression and camshaft, but the main thing was the reliability is very good on the engine.
Well, that's key, right? Got to have that.
I mean, we've actually used main bearings over that good after 10 nights,
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's a good engine.
Cool.
So we're kind of really upbeat on it, so we'll see what happens.
Nice. Got one more thing for you to talk about before you get away. 'Cause I hear the engine in the background. I know Don's on back there.
Oh, that is a...
Tell the story of this, because if you've ever been to In-N-Out Burger and you've had their fries, chances are...
It was cut with that.
Yes.
And prior to that, it was developed in 1936 by my grandfather. Mm-hmm. It's a potato cutter. And it was at all the McDonald's until the late 60s when he went to frozen fries. But it's been around, 80 years, so But it cuts potatoes, carrots, celery sticks. It sort of mounts on the wall and just pushes everything through. You get different cutting heads, different pusher blocks.
Yeah.
But
that was ready for big fries. That's like Five Guys or something.
That's probably either Five Guys or... it could be anybody really. But the one that used the most is 1/4 inch because it cooks faster.
Okay, smaller fries.
Yeah.
This thing does take some effort to push it, doesn't it?
No, it's
Come on, Wake.
Jam. Okay. I'm all messed up. I messed it up. Who knew? Who knew, right?
Blake, you do not have the strength to do the deal, or what's up?
I don't want to break it, so.
It gets jammed because he pulled it back too far.
Oh, there
it is. Yeah.
So it has a stop on it. It's not set. He pulled this out of production.
Yeah. Moses got it for me real quick, so he has something to show.
Yeah. So
we'll fix it.
I'll have to take it back and put a stop on it, but we've made this thing over 75 years like this, and some of the die casting are getting old, but believe it or not, it's still running. We sell about 2,000 of these a year, and they work really well. They're a commercial machine made for commercial work, but a lot of people are putting them in their homes.
Oh no!
We made a wall bracket for them, and now they're putting them in their homes.
Oh, I can see why. See, already broke something today.
Where does one get one of those? Let's say there was someone who wanted one of those in their home. Like, how do they purchase that?
You can get them direct, or you can call the restaurant equipment houses. All of them handle them just about. I mean, it's been around so long, almost everybody in the country handles it. You know, it's a restaurant equipment.
It's called the Keen Cutter, right?
Keen Cutter, yeah.
K-E-E-N.
Yeah. Keen Cutter.
Yeah. That's K-U-T-T-E-R, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's even a website for it. You go to Google and Google Keen Cutter, K-E-E-N-K-U-T-T-E-R. You'll be able to find it.
Yeah. Yes.
Right there, because they have the website and you can buy them because they're super cool.
Oh my God.
My daughter handles all that, so I actually don't. I'm not even involved hardly with the vegetable cutter. It's just one of the things I'm more on the engine side and lifter side. We make all lifters for comp cams, hydraulic lifters. That's kind of another story, but we build a lot of those for every engine.
Been doing that for a long time, right?
Yeah.
I remember seeing the prints from MacArthur back in the old days of comp.
Yeah.
Sent the picture.
All the old guys.
Your dad.
Scooter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came in our shop in 1977 and they said, we're going to grind cams. And I said, that's nice. But we need a lifter. So that's how we got started in that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's automated now, so it's a lot more productive. We send 3,500 lifters a week to them, and we're always in back order. So everybody's switching from flat tappet to roller, and you can't even get a roller from Delphi or a flat tappet from Delphi.
It's been a big issue. Yeah, the hardened puck one we used for the little motor went away about a year or so ago. Yeah. Apparently they're coming back maybe later this year, but roller's the way to go, no doubt about it.
It is. It works good, and the new bushing lifter works good if you put a bushing in it instead of needles, and it works a lot better in the racing deal. And
have y'all been using the bushing lifter?
That's all we use is bushing. Yeah.
Okay.
We use Escuderian. He was the first to do it.
Right.
And then Jessel does it, so we use both of those.
Okay.
And with good luck, we've never had a failure. If you don't want to fail, you don't want to roller tap it with a needle to break in your motor because it ruins the motor.
Yeah, it's like grenade going off.
Now it just breaks the needle or the bushing breaks, but I haven't seen one break. I've heard of them breaking, but I have not seen one here in all the engines we do.
And your stuff sees a lot of abuse because sprint car engines, there's no dampener.
Yeah, and we got fast ramps.
Yeah.
Real fast ramps. So.
And you guys make gear drives too. We should talk about that.
Yeah, we make Shaver makes a Shaver Westmar, and we got together with Bob Westfall and when Summers died, and he didn't want to continue on, so we just took it over and made our own tooling, and so we make a gear drive for the small block, which is used almost on every sprint car. Okay. And now we make a big block Chevy.
I remember that one. Yeah, it was coming a couple years ago, right? Started working on that.
Yeah, a lot of guys are using that, and it gets sold out of Oklahoma or where Granite City. Yeah. So
wherever Kelly is these days.
Yeah, Kelly handles it on the Westmar side, and we just manufacture them here. So it's been good for us. It's good enough. Toyota built their front motor so it would fit the gear drive. So
how about that? There you go. Good. Yeah, exactly. So, tell the whole story right there. It's gonna run a gear drive. Mm-hmm. So it's always busy here, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And we got some people weighing in on social media, like Toby Sampson. Sounds like he knows. Ron says, good, looking good, Ron. And Ernesto's out there. And Lee saying, what's up? Thank you for all the great content. Says you guys are awesome. So people loving it so far out there on the socials.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, that's what's neat about this whole tech ability to do this. You can kind of go everywhere.
And we have just lost the guys. Device disconnected. And here we are. So we're going to have to get them fired back up. They have disconnected. But the question is, how long until they realize that they were disconnected? That is the question. So what we'll do is we are going to play another video from Ed Iskandarian. Oh, just got word. Lake is going to have to plug back in. There was a bit of a power surge or something. What we're going to do at Hidden Horsepower Live is encourage you to obviously subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud. Got a great diesel episode coming up with Cass Choate. Going to be awesome. But let's take a look at part 2 of Ed Iskandarian out there for his 100th birthday. Not the real birthday party, which is coming up, but the casual Taco Tuesday. Lake sent these a little bit earlier. 100 years, and they said it, a good 100. It's amazing, Ed Iskandarian.
And I see that in the old days, the cams were a series of radius. A radius on the opening flank, a radius on the closing flank. So much. And I heard that Winfield already said 5/16 is all lifting gauge, so I sit around.
Yeah, I know it.
See, you're getting more higher. Anyway, so every noise you go a half hour, every degree for about 30 degrees, and then you start opening.
I call him.
And
I don't remember.
I don't have a rotary temple, and we're doing that right now.
He goes to.
So I'll leave that off.
And there you go. They referenced the story a little bit earlier. Apologize about the video, but it was an active restaurant, and the audio quality was really the issue. But Ed Iskandarian talking about just leaving aspects of the camshaft off, making $100 a day. I really love the idea. I got to spend a little time with Ed last year, 2 years ago at the PRI show, and pretty amazing. We got one more, like an amazing person to be going at 100 years old. Lake is working on reconnecting. We have connected with him, and he is fighting the system and improvising, adapting, and soon to overcome. Let's go back out to the final part of Ed Iskandarian and his 100th birthday, and this is kind of a great story. Check it out.
So after the war, I decided I'd like to try that cam grinder because the cam grinder got a lot of, when the engine builder, we didn't have any engine builder, but when the guy built a good car and set some kind of record, the cam grinder would get a present and come credit. They want to know what cam was in there. And I thought I was horning in on the Winfield business because he was nice to me. But actually, he would have helped me then, even then, because he was retired. And so later year, I started going out maybe every 6 weeks. I said, I better learn all I can from him. Because he's got so much knowledge about the old days. Do you mind if I start paying you? Because I'm learning a lot of things I'd never know otherwise. So I must have paid him about the right amount because he never said it was too much.
Wait, that was about real price for your education.
Yeah. So Cam Grinder gets a lot of credit for someone that built a good engine, and some engine builders can make a bit bum cam look good.
And there you have it. Wow. Tremendous Ed Iskandarian. Gotta love what he has been able to do in his career, and just a milestone to reach 100 years old, but to still be active. And look at what we have been able to do is reconnect with Lake Speed. Lake, you are back. You are now back. And we played, just so you know, to catch you up to speed, we played the birthday videos from Ed's 100th birthday. We're all up to speed. And you guys could tell you were having a great time.
Oh yeah, it was really great. And by the way, yeah, Ron had to go back to finish dynoing that 410 engine back there. So I stole Dan Brewer for a minute. So
there you go.
Yeah, Dan's been here 35 years. Yeah, a little bit of time. So there's anybody can tell stories about Ron now that he's not in the room. Dan's the guy that can tell it, right? And he can tell stories on me too, but we won't go there. So actually, Ron's out there fixing the vegetable cutter that I broke. And he's trying to go up Don on the motor.
You should tell him to give it to
That
you.
was embarrassing. I'm like,
You
sorry.
broke it. No, you broke it, so you bought it. You should just take that one forever. It's famous.
Yeah, exactly. My wife would probably love that thing, actually. So they were
Who
great.
wouldn't?
Oh yeah. Well, the problem is, they're building these things for production, and we just went and grabbed a couple parts and pieces of ones that weren't finished yet and threw it together just like a dyno it real quick, or demo it. But then I didn't know what I was doing. So anyway, sorry guys.
We all have them, I think.
Yeah, I know. Don's got one in the house.
I do.
Okay, yeah. So
Why wouldn't you? So anyway, we successfully were able to show some of those Ed Iskandarian videos. We do have the shop though. The idea that you guys are there in Lake. I know you have spent a lot of time there, like your whole tribology experiment, thousands of hours in the Dino Room at Shaver.
Oh yeah. I see. Dan wanted to get out, right? Ron walked back in the room and he's like, "Here, you swap back." Yeah. This guy was, I don't know, we'll call it dumb enough to let me keep coming back, right? Let me in the door the first time, and then he never threw me out. So yeah, this is. I always say I was exposed to a lot of really cool things working at Joe Gibbs Racing and working with the guys at Lubrizol and things like that. But it's here where we were able to hands-on actually apply some of those concepts and things and prove it out. So my hands-on experience is here. This is home away from home for me. I feel as comfortable here as I do in my living room, unfortunately for these guys. Yeah.
But I think the mistake was when we let him run the dyno. He keeps coming back and running the dyno.
I know that was it, right? You gave a mouse a cookie. It's that book, for your grandkids, right? It's like if you had known that if you let me run the dyno the first time, you would never get me out of here.
Yeah,
you probably wouldn't have done it. You say, no, this Don can do that.
Yeah. And the new dynos, they're all computerized now, and we have two dynos. We got an old-fashioned Heenan that I like, and then the new one for the big horsepower engines. It'll hold up to 3,000 horsepower. So, and we get engines in here from the drag race group that easily go over 2,500. So we've got to have something to hold them. The old dyno would only hold about 1,500, but it was a good high-speed dyno. We dynoed many a Cosworth on it and lots of Auroras and.
Oh yeah, you did IRL stuff.
Yeah. So
those were 14,000 or how would they go to?
The IRL was limited to 10, but
10. Okay,
it'd go way more than that. But the Cosworths were 15, 16.
You ran 15, 16,000 RPM?
You had to crop the rotor in the dyno to get it to go up that
That's
high.
right. Yeah. Wow. That had to have been crazy sounding to be.
They were bitching. It sounded good. When that thing is 16,000, it sounds really good.
I bet it does. It's crazy. Well, yeah, I said Superflow dyno, it's being all computerized with the dual servos. Yeah. It's so easy to run and incredibly consistent.
Yeah, the electronics are good. It very rarely gives trouble. If it gives trouble, it's in the servos, and very little.
Yeah, I say most of the issues ever been are the computer part, and you can just restart the computer and
it gives us
goes away.
A lot of ability we can run low speed and see what we're doing, where the other dynos won't go down that low. We can squeeze it down to 2,000 and hold a load. And
that's a lot of load, because you're talking, what, 750 foot-pounds?
Yeah, 750 from the Fords.
Yeah.
But it just works so much easier. All the stuff that we had on the walls for correction and all that stuff, those days are gone.
Yeah.
It's all done electronically now, and it's much more accurate, and it shows. Our stuff's better because of the dyno.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But we used to have 6 guys at the dyno reading all the gauges, while one guy operated it, and then he'd go over to the barometer and see what it was, and then he had a little chart. And, it took a long time to figure out just one 500 RPM run, because we'd run up 5, 10, 15, 20. Now we just hit a button and it sweeps it.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's pretty good.
That's amazing. Yeah. I like the cool technology of the dyno. You're right. I was with Dad the other day. I was telling you, he was, doing some testing on his 2-cycle stuff with the pipes, and he's got the mechanical part of it down flat, but the computer part, he was like, I need some help. So I came over there and we did a little playing around on that, and it was like his mind was like, oh, I got to rethink everything.
Everything changes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can see small increases now.
Mhm.
And, you know, when you're sweeping, it'll actually run a chart so you can see what the sweep looks like. And, you know, if it's got a hole in it somewhere, we can see and we can try and work it out. You know, we didn't have that ability back in the day. So, but that dyno's still running. So,
Oh yeah, it's never gave up.
never gave up. So I think I rebuilt it 25 years ago and it's still running. So pretty good.
Oh yeah, it keeps on pounding away. We've run both of them back and forth. That's a nice thing. Having two dynos, you can kind of toggle back and forth.
Yeah.
Keep things going. You got two Fords back there right now, right?
Two Fords, yeah.
Yep.
So the Fords are pretty much overwhelmed us right now, but we're catching up again. So we've made some changes that we had to work on, and it seems like they're getting better.
Yeah.
So
we'll have to figure out what day to come back and test this thing out. I'm really curious to see what that thing's going to do.
well, I know one thing. When we put it in the engine, you know, the Ford will carry 19, 18 inches of vacuum, and when we put this one in, we were at 22 and a half.
Okay.
And that's with two gas ports.
Mm-hmm. That was the gas ported piston with the gas ported ring. And that's the first time we've done that. We'd only been doing testing with just either gas ports in the piston or the ring, not combined together.
Right.
And you're seeing benefit from actually combining them together. That's kind of.
And we're not there yet because the drag race guys are running vertical pistons, so they got 3 gas ports.
Yeah.
And that they say it works. I haven't tried it. They say it really works.
I've always heard that the vertical gas ports are better power-wise than the lateral gas ports. So I can definitely see having vertical gas ports with a gas ported ring, how nice that would be, because then you can run that tighter ring groove clearance to hold the ring flatter, but you've got plenty of gas activation.
We haven't really gotten there with the clearance yet. We're
Right.
a little scared of that.
Creep up on it a little bit.
Yeah, they got to run a while. The drag cars, they don't run that long. And the vertical thing, you know, they get carbon in them, and it's a problem in a long distance.
Now, do you see that with the methanol?
Yeah, we see carbon.
Okay,
Not near the carbon though.
Not like the gasoline engines
no.
do. Yeah,
But yeah, they have some.
they still have some. Yeah.
So we stayed with a vertical gas port, and this was just made it better.
Yeah, that's cool. Like I said, we'll try it out in a little motor because, you know, Oscar, the old engine back there, she'll tell us because we've run it a bajillion dyno pulls in that thing. But the consistency of the dyno, we know what it is. If it moves at 2 or if it moves at 10, you'll know.
Also, they've got a new coating for them.
Yeah.
And we couldn't run them in alcohol, and they came up with a good coating. It's a double coating. You could tell them about it, but the coating seemed to fix all our problems on alcohol. We don't have any more problems.
Well, yeah, it's just the C23 coating being a softer coating with better lubricity. It makes up for the fact, like I said, with alcohol deal, it's not a lot of lubricity, and there's so much fuel wash that really was what we needed, right? So it's back to the tribology of blending all the right chemistry together.
Right.
The face coating is just a dry film lubricant. So as opposed to having it in the oil, you're just putting it on the ring, and like I said, that's all. That's all it took was that little bit extra, and it was right there.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff. So
we're looking forward to more of that. So we're going to change our piston a little bit and tighten the vertical clearance up a little bit and see what happens.
Sounds good.
And that's the question, guys. Like the process of determining if it works. You're putting it in the once you get your pistons. Like, take us through that, Lake. Like, how do you go through that process of determining whether or not this new design is going to be effective?
Well, for us, it's really about having a relationship with a guy like Teron and putting the guys here to be able to take them a new concept and say, here, let's try this. And it's nice that here we have an engine that's a dedicated test engine where we can kind of science things out a little bit. We can kind of put it into play. If it blows up, well, then okay, no big deal. It's not like you're costing somebody a race weekend or something like that to do it. We can do a little bit of learning and kind of get a little bit, take those initial steps with the development engine. Then based on that, we can make that bigger step into putting it into a real higher power motor and seeing where it goes. And then like you said, you ran up rings the other day and ran it a lot on the dyno, and then pulled it back apart before you shipped the engine just to see what it did.
Yeah, they look good, and we didn't see any problems. It's going to run Knoxville.
There you go. So, and part of that too, Joe, is sometimes it's doing used oil analysis, it's measuring the parts, you're using all the different tools at our disposal to try to figure out what is actually happening. Like we did the first test with the gas ported ring this time last year. That's one of the things we did. We took oil samples with it. We obviously, tore the engine down after each test and checked everything, had the profilometer and looked at what was going on the board to make sure that it wasn't doing anything weird. I mean, heck, I got a set of, this is the gapless one, but I have a set of gas ported rings in my personal car now just to see, okay, what happens on the street? Because people say, okay, gas ports get dirty over time from carbon buildup. Well, one nice thing about the gas ported ring is that one is contacting the cylinder bore and it's rotating. So any carbon buildup on the front of that edge is going to get knocked off just because it's rotating around.
Right.
Number two, this ring is made out of steel. Pistons are typically made out of aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the detergents in motor oil are more effective on steel than they are aluminum.
Yeah.
So they will actually keep this cleaner longer because you're allowing the chemistry is more effective on this. So I've got thousands of miles on that engine already because it's got an air oil separator in the engine. It can pull vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a manometer. We can hook it up and measure crankcase vacuum. So I can go get a hot idle and check it. And we've been doing that over several months. And my buddies, Jake Raby and Charles Navarro from LN, they're the guys that put together this engine together. And I'm checking it. And we're measuring oil consumption. We're measuring crankcase vacuum. And it's just consistent. It's right where it's supposed to be. So it's telling me these things are staying clean. They're not carbonated up. Because think about how dirty a gas port would be in 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 race miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, nasty.
Yeah.
And so if it was doing something, it would be showing up. So that's where you give us a lot of confidence. So we try a bunch of different things, Joe, to try to make sure that we have good information we can share with customers so they can know what they're getting. And
all the stuff that you've done with this ring, between this ring and the vacuum and the good oils that we've got now, and we're talking 20 horsepower.
Right.
And with doing nothing. Putting oil in it and a good ring.
Yeah.
That's
just making choices.
A lot of horsepower.
Yeah.
That's probably the most we've gained in a single change that we've made in years. I mean, we're running out of things to try. The Ford's, that's why it's so good. The Ford has a new head. And it's a little bit, better than the Chevy head.
Yeah, and you're able to put all the good stuff in it from day one.
Yeah.
No having to work around.
20 horsepower. I would have never, ever believed that putting 20 inches of vacuum on there with a zero weight oil would have done that. So that's how we
and it lives and you're reusing the bearings.
Yeah.
And that's a 0W50. Let's be fair, right? It's not a straight zero like a pro stock oil, but it's still, you could able to run an oil like that and make it happen.
Yeah. So when you're talking 050, you told me the story of it, but you should tell. Have you told the story of what happens to the oil as it goes along if you run it a long time?
No.
When 50 weight comes out of it,
Oh yeah, it shears down. So you start off any oil that's that wide split, because what happens is people think that number before the W and after the W are related, and they're not.
No.
Yeah, one's a cold cranking measurement and one is the actual hot flow measurement. So you're putting polymer in the oil to make it act like a 50 when it's hot and still be able to crank when it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have that big split, there's a lot of polymer. So what happens is over time, like you said, it starts to chew it up. All those gear drive pieces, all those teeth interfacing with each other starts to tear those polymers apart. So yeah, in reality, it's a 050 on the can. The engine, after it runs a little while,
it's 50.
Thinks it's a 30. It bends down a little bit and thinks it's a 30, which is the reason why it can make power.
Yeah.
But it still has some of that thickness left to it. So there's a reason when those guys decided to do that. when they were designing that oil for the engine program.
Mhm.
This is how you make that power, because again, you guys start up dead cold.
Yeah.
So aluminum block is going to grow.
Yeah.
So you need to have tighter clearances. So if you have tighter clearances and you put a straight 50 in there.
Mhm. I mean, it's actually taught us. I mean, we used to, like you said, we started them dead cold and let them warm up in the pits. But now, with what we know, we've created another business that people make heaters for these blocks, and we build the engine so you just plug the heater in, and it circulates the thing in the pits and gets it up to 180 before it ever starts.
Right.
So, and that's another thing that's done. It's made the engine live longer.
Oh yeah.
So all this is kind of related in a big circular way, but
Like you said, it's a combination.
Yeah.
It's not one part. It's a combination
Yeah.
of parts and how you orchestrate them together.
yeah. So where I'm going with this is that's why we keep Lake around, because he's always thinking.
We try. We try. So.
All right. On that note, guys, there's a gentleman out there who's got a question. Ernesto says, what about some hidden horsepower secrets for the young engine builders out there? Ron, got anything? Do you want to disclose?
You know, there's a lot of secrets, but I think the biggest secret is when you're building it, you know, if you measure everything and you clean it. I mean, cleaning the engine is a big thing, and a lot of people don't do it right. But if you measure the pistons, you know, the pistons vary. You can change a lot of stuff. So I would say, if you were going to do something like that, cleaning the engine would be a good tip to all the guys that are starting. If you start with a clean engine, you're going to have a better engine. And we see stuff all the time. We're always trying to improve our cleaning ability.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing to do.
With ultrasonic machines now that are
Yeah.
big enough, you can put whole blocks in.
Yeah.
That
I
stuff.
mean, there's other things. There's a lot of things you can do to make it better, but
Mhm.
I wouldn't even know where to start.
Well, like you said, cleaning and measuring. I think those
Yeah.
are two really
Yeah.
important things. I know from the lubrication side, most of the reasons why something fails is contamination.
Yeah.
From an oil side, oils usually aren't bad; they get dirty,
Yeah.
and it's the contamination that will kill something. And you know, I was up at Brad Leidman's yesterday, and he's got this tool, this measuring center for measuring pistons, which is incredible how accurate it is and consistent in the ability to get all these measurements from the piston quickly and easily. But then what's really cool is he's gone 21st century, and now he has it all connected to the computer system.
Mhm.
He's got software where it can record
Mhm.
all the measurements. So it's not like, well, you know, I measured it this time, where did I write that piece of paper down and all that? It's
In the computer.
in the computer.
Yeah.
Then, like he said, you can take that piston brand new, measure it, go build the engine, go let it run a bunch of races, come back, and now I can measure that piston
Yeah.
again, and I can see where it's wearing, see if I'm getting detonation, because if the skirts start to collapse,
Yes.
that's detonation. So you can know without just having a hole in the bottom of your piston.
And that brings you to another thing. If the guy needs a tuner tip, or he's never gapped a ring, you know, gapping the rings makes a big difference in the performance if you get the gap just right. And there's two theories there. We run the top gap bigger than the second gap, but some guys run the second gap bigger than the top gap.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess where I'm going with that is this: if you gap the rings, you know, gap them, you know, it's usually 4 thousandths, I think, per inch of bore. That's going to help you
For a
lot.
non-gapless ring, like
Right.
if you're running a gapless ring like this, that's going to be closer to like 6 thou.
Yeah.
Right? If the gapless ring
The
needs
thinner the
more,
ring, the more the clearance.
yeah, needs more clearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That really helps a lot. A lot of people don't even pay attention to that. You know, they put them in as they come, and the rings are that way. But if you buy from a Total Seal or a ring company like that, they'll be oversized, and you can gap them.
Yep.
So I guess the tuner tip there is gap your rings, because it's definitely worth some power.
Well, gap your rings, gap your spark plugs. If you just use your spark plugs right out of the box and never check them,
Yeah.
you're leaving change on the table.
Right.
No doubt about it.
So I guess the story. The moral of the story is gap your rings.
Yeah, measure. Like I said, clean and measure.
Yeah.
Those are two really key things. And one thing too that we've been doing this week since we had to call the audible and we weren't able to do the dyno test. We ran around here and other places in town, up to Brad Lagman's, to Guy Tripp's place at SoCal Diesel, and we shot a lot of videos for the next Engine Performance Expo, which in the old days we had the AETC conference, which guys could go to and watch and learn from guys like yourself. Some of those secrets and things that knowledge to pass down. Well, AETC doesn't exist anymore, but we got the Engine Performance Expo that does. So you can go on anytime and watch those videos from these people's shops and see and pick up that piece of information. So that's one nice thing about today is that using technology, that information isn't just hidden away. And it's not, well, if I was in the room that day, I got to learn that from you or from Kazi or whatever, whoever it was. It's there. You can still access it all the time.
You know, John, we speak of John. John is quite a guy. He's always thinking.
Oh,
I mean, always thinking. He'll call you up with things you never thought of.
yeah.
And he tries everything. Everything he tries.
Yeah.
But if you've ever been around him at Engine Masters or something, everything he has is weird. But it all works.
John is the ninja of engine building.
There's no doubt about it.
He's super sharp, very focused, quiet competitor. John will sit there and smile, be friendly, and all that. Inside, he wants to dominate everybody. Not just win, he wants to dominate everybody and just obliterate all the competition.
Yeah.
We did the video last year for the expo. I mean, I called him up, several weeks ahead and said, I don't have time. I'm like, what do you mean? So you had the presentation you did at HTC? I said, no. I spent like a year working on that. So if you want me to do a presentation, I need time. If I'm going to do it, I got to be the best.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just use the one from AETC. It's going to be fine. And we went and pulled all that together. And he did. The guys told me, he said, he's been running around here the last 2 weeks, gathering up stuff just for this video. So yeah, John is an intense competitor, but like you said, one of the nicest guys in the whole world too.
Yeah, he is. He's a really good guy.
A couple people out there, guys. Adger says he got to be around Ron when he was at the Engine Masters Challenge. He was doing tech. He was impressed, especially with what he did within the rules package. That's Adger out there, Adger. And David had a comment about signs of pre-ignition. He suggests that looking at the upper connecting rod bearing wear pattern will help show signs of pre-ignition. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes, it will show. It'd have to be pretty severe. The best thing you can look at is the spark plug. It'll tell you a story. If you're using a conventional type spark plug with a ground strap, if it goes past the bend, it's too lean. And if it has pepper on the porcelain, it's too lean. You'll see the detonation there before you'll see it at the bottom end. But yeah, you'll see the bearing, the top half of it. If you're really detonating and they haven't burnt the piston by then, it'll be shiny. The bearing will be real good and shiny, the top half. But I think, we kind of fudged that because we run them right on the border of detonation all the time. So years ago, a guy named John Havel at Clevite got together with me and Ryan Falconer.
Okay, yeah.
And we developed the bearing that you call an H bearing today. And basically it's a P bearing with half the thickness of lead-iridium on it. And that bearing is almost impossible to hurt. The other bearing, when you saw detonation, you'd see it, the metal would be moving, and we call it fatigue on its backing.
Mm-hmm.
But when we went to the thin layer, that quit. And that's how.
Because the H bearing is a tri-metal bearing, right?
Yeah.
That's copper, tin, and lead.
Right.
So the tin's the overlay.
That bearing's the best bearing that there's ever been. It's got the right amount, everything it's done right. The metal backing was changed. And John Havel and Ryan and myself, we all developed that. But John was a designer. And once he figured out what we were doing wrong, and we weren't doing it wrong. The bearing wasn't up to
It
it.
just was strong
And,
enough for the loads. Yeah.
He fixed it, and it's been that way ever since. Period.
Yeah, everybody uses them, right? Tri-metal bearing is the thing.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. Well, I can't thank you for your time enough today. It was awesome. Appreciate it. He's got to get back to work. So,
All right. Ron, thank you very much. It was awesome. Thank you for answering questions from our audience out there. And you have a full podcast episode in our Hidden Horsepower archive where I think you told the story about Lake blowing something up on the dyno, by the way. I'm not exactly sure, but I recall something like that.
we've had fires before.
Yeah, we have fires, loose bolts and stuff.
Fires, floods, things like that.
Lake is accomplished dyno man and fireman.
The best one was we had the knock sensors and we were playing with the detonation deal, and we were pouring oil on the headers to get the smoke to go up into the carburetor so that the
detonate.
we hear it detonate. And we actually could. You could pour the oil on the headers and it would start to smoke up, and then the carburetor would suck in the smoke. And then you could actually listen on the knock sensor and you could hear it start to detonate when it was pulling in the oil vapor. Of course, the trick was trying to get enough oil, vapor going. And one time I poured a little bit too much oil and there was more of a fire than there was vapor. But
Yeah, it set all the alarms off. So, yeah.
I love it. And Ron, before you go, just on our podcast, one of our benchmarks is, advice for the next generation. Not so much about parts and pieces, but about work ethic. You got something that you'd like to share with our people out there live?
Yeah, well, being an engine builder is it's a lot of work. But if you got a young guy that's interested, and he really gets interested, he come into an engine shop and tell him, I want to learn. And stand there and watch a little bit and see if he wants to do it first. And if he wants to do it, he'll probably be fine. But you gotta make that effort, get out there and look at it and see if that's what you want to do. But there's a lot of fun in it because you get to go to all the races, but it's a lot of work too.
Well, there's not a lot of things you get to do in life where you can actually see the fruits of your work on TV.
We call it playing where you work.
Yeah, you gotta love it. Yeah, if you love it, it's not work. You'll never work a day in your life.
But yeah, for a young guy to come in, and we get them all the time. Some of them stay, some of them don't. But
right,
you got to really like cars.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Agner's out there. One more before you go. In the old days, did you use V bearings? Is the question.
Yeah, we tried the V bearing. We didn't have much success with it. I've actually got some if he needs them. We used it and they didn't work well for us. What we were doing with the Carrillo rod, they just didn't work out. So we had trouble with the V bearing. We couldn't get clearances because there was only one V bearing, and sometimes we couldn't get the clearance, and every engine builder has his own clearance that he likes. So he likes to be able to jockey it a little bit, and the one side's different than the other side. So it wasn't a good competition for what we're using. So, but yeah, we used it. We looked at it, but we didn't stay with it.
Excellent. No, I appreciate the questions from the audience out there. Excellent stuff. Now, we do have a couple of
old stuff. I was up at Valley Head Service yesterday at Larry Fria's place.
Oh, he's old.
Oh, yeah. He's got all kinds of old stuff up there. I mean, if you're looking for old parts, call Larry at Valley Head, because I was just looking around the parts room. I was like, man.
He never sells anything.
No, there's some ancient stuff.
Yeah, he's a good guy, too.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. Let's have a quick look at the outside of the shop and in the shop. Lake, you took some videos before we let Ron go and we wrap this thing up. They play where they work. That's like a virtual labyrinth of cool stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, exactly.
On the other side of that blue wall is all the machine shops, and it's pretty big, and we can do just about anything here. So
Yep. You're the Dino Room right now.
yeah, I better go.
Yeah, you better go.
Okay. Thank you.
Ron, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Lake, wow, that was great. I know you guys have got a fantastic personal relationship. And so to see the two of you guys kind of just kicking it a little bit and touching on some projects and some things that went down, like that is, first of all, it's what Hidden Horsepower is all about, but a lot of knowledge to be gained right there.
Oh, yeah, exactly. This is a great place. These are great people. They've taught me so much, and I can't thank them enough for allowing us to open the doors and let all the viewers and listeners of the podcast come in and see and share some more things along the way. And hopefully this isn't the last time we get to do this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the live shows are turning out to be great. And it's a lot of fun to watch you and kind of see the background. Like you're in a working engine shop right now.
Yeah, Bruce Motors got to build over here. So, he's like, all right, Ron's gone. Now you got to work.
Don't let him touch it. Don't let it touch it, man. He broke
Dan already knows better, so I get to touch one motor here. I get to touch Oscar, and if I blow it up, it's on me, so that's all right. Otherwise, I can look.
We got good advice about cleaning the engine before you try to put things back together, all of that. But hey, this whole exercise, total seal piston rings. Ron had some great things to say. You guys are always working on new technology for people out there who are interested in unlocking the hidden horsepower. What is the best way that they should go about like starting their project? Keith Jones is always talking about like call you guys first before you've bought your parts and decided on everything so that you can get a good baseline on that. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Once you already have a piston, then those ring grooves are what they are. And then you've kind of already limited your choices down a little bit. So before you order your pistons, give us a call. 623-587-7400. You've got Keith, Kevin, Bobby, August. You've got all these guys with years and years of engine building experience that can help you define your goals for your engine and then choose the appropriate ring package to suit those goals. And then you can communicate back either through us or directly to the piston manufacturer to get pistons that go along with those rings so that you get the benefit that you're looking for. Because again, if you start off with pistons that have 5/64, 3/16 ring grooves, it's going to be a hard reach to get down to 0.7 millimeter from there. Yeah, you're not going to be able to get there. But the 0.7s, there's a big advantage of that. And, even something that's like a 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter ring package, that's a really durable ring package. And that can go in a 410 Sprint. That can go in your daily driver. So those are the kind of things to keep in mind, which again, if you call us first, we can talk through all this with you. And that helps you get a little further down the road so that you don't buy a bunch of parts and then realize, man, I wish I had thought about that beforehand.
Got it. No, it makes perfect sense. Lake, great job. Really appreciate you. Hidden Horsepower Live. We got new episodes getting ready to drop on the podcast. Hopefully everybody will subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. I know you're bummed you didn't get to use the dyno this week, though.
I know. I was so bummed about that. But, again, these guys are great. They allowed me to improvise, adapt. We came up with some good plans and got some great content for the next Engine Performance Expo done this week. So, made some lemonade out of lemons.
That's exactly right. And this was a lot of fun. And it's now time for the weekend and a whole lot of racing going to be going on around the country. Lake, great job as usual. Can't wait to the next one. Thank you so much. Any final thoughts for the audience out there?
I appreciate everybody tuning in. We get great feedback all the time. And it just blows us away. So we appreciate the feedback. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. That way we can try to better serve our audience, because we appreciate the fact that people are getting it and they're enjoying these podcasts, so we'll keep doing them.
That's it. There you go. Lake, excellent work. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. There he goes, Lake Speed Jr. with us here on Hidden Horsepower Live. My name is Joe Castello. I host a show called WFO Radio, a lot of NHRA drag racing, but we're talking about motorsports in general, an awful lot lately, and it has been a lot of fun. I'm honored that they allow me to host this show, Hidden Horsepower, and it has been a whole lot of fun. If this is your first episode, obviously subscribe, click the bell if you're watching on YouTube. If you're out there on other social media, share the show, tell your friends, and the podcast. There's just so much great information. Some past episodes, they mentioned John Causey. There's a John Causey episode, Jason Line, the first episode ever, Pat Musey, Ed Pink, one of the most listened to episodes ever. You can follow me. I'm at WFO Joe on Twitter, on Instagram. But the bottom line is we got more episodes getting ready to drop on Hidden Horsepower. Thanks to Ron Shaver. Thanks to Lake Speed. We'll see you on the next one. Hidden Horsepower, presented by Total Seal.